Hey everybody, it's Jason here, Master Jace for the Alliance Project. We're going to start a new project called the Jedi Academy. Just a little Star Wars nerdery, but what we're going to do is talk about ancient mysteries and forbidden knowledge, reveal things that most documentaries don't reveal. We're going to talk a lot about the Egyptians, okay? So what we're getting into today is going to consist about the pyramids, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, actually. We're going to break down the pyramid code. So I hope you guys enjoy. Please, please, please like, share, get this out here, get me the maximum exposure you can get, and just help me out. Took a little break doing some soul searching and trying to find myself, and had a lot of work. I have a baby on the way, and it's a boy, by the way, and I'm naming him Triton, which was Poseidon, Inky's son. He was the son of the sea, if you will. Very powerful, strong-sounding name, so I'm naming him Triton. He was also the father of Ariel in The Little Mermaid, so fun fact, right? But yeah, I'd take a break, and now my views are down a little bit lower than I'd like them. I'd like to get some more exposure, get some more conversation out there. So it's the reason I do it. But we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to go ahead and share some information here about the pyramids. Okay, so here we go. Pyramids of Giza. Go ahead and let my computer do its thing. Bam! All right. So to decipher these codes, one has to have a basic understanding of hieroglyphs. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and break down two very important hieroglyphs that helps us understand one layer of the multifaceted code that is the Egyptian pyramids. Okay, the Mayans, the Incas, the dynastic Chinese, all these people had one thing in common: they built pyramids. Okay, so why did they build them? They weren't always built to be viewed from the ground, since we know they were aligned with stars, constellations. These ones in particular were aligned with the stars in Orion's belt. Then we realize that as they look to the stars above, the stars look down on them. So we have to view them from above, right? There were clues left behind because, just like all knowledge, it lives and dies. Now we're trying to revive this knowledge. It was left here for a reason. It was left here for their descendants to find clues, okay? So the first clue we find is two major hieroglyphs as if you view them from above. So let me go ahead. So the two major constellations or hieroglyphs that we're deciphering today are a simple square, which means space, constellations in the cosmos, and a circle with an X in it, which means land, place, city. Okay. So if we view them from above, the first thing we see, the first clue we see is a square, right? We see a square. So as we view this square, we can go back and think of what units of measurement they used. So at the base of it, we have 365.25 Egyptian cubits. Okay, so that's the first clue. On all four sides, it's 365.25 Egyptian cubits, which should pop out to you as dun, 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 a solar year. How long it takes for us to revolve around the sun. Okay, the second would be a circle. You take the circumference of this, you put the X through it, and you get 3,652.25 Egyptian cubits is the circumference, right? So what makes it significant is the constant measurement of the sun, how it travels, how we travel around the sun in the cosmos, okay? So since we have 365.25 recurring, it meant it was supposed to reflect something in the cosmos, in the constellation, or in space, okay? Unless we see the sun's movement or our movement around the sun to be more correct or literal, but the sun that moves around basically from our viewpoint and how they align with Orion, then we know that we're looking to the stars. So the key to this hieroglyph, and one moment here, let me pull it up, is that it's two hieroglyphs laying on top of each other, one on top of the other. So space, constellation, the cosmos, land, place, city. Just like behind me, you see one of my papyrus scrolls here showing the afterlife, what happens when there's Thoth here, and you got the feather of Mot on the scales, and it's representing your heart or your purity, your consciousness. On death, they're trying to weigh your purity, all right? See if it's light as a feather. See if your soul was clean in the end, right? Meaning, were you a good person or not? The same idea, concept of heaven and hell. And all these pagan religions that came before were actually along way before Christianity and have all the same stories. They were just, when you're trying to make a new belief system, you have to take belief systems that are already there and weave them into the holidays, right? So they took all these pagan holidays, wove them into the holidays of Christianity, and the symbols are still there, like the Easter bunny, the eggs, spring, fertility, Esther. It all comes from Samaria, which went to Egypt, which Greeks, which went to the Romans. And you can actually look at this. The Greeks and the Romans kept great records. It said they borrowed it from earlier cultures in Egypt, which say they borrowed it from Sumeria, which basically all culture started from the same place, the Fertile Crescent. So all these stories, the hero's journey, all of it started in the same place. So that's all symbolism. Like you got Horus and Set behind me, you got life and death, these deep symbolic things, they all meant something, okay? So when viewing them from above, you see the square, which again means space, the cosmos, constellations, and you see an X dividing it into 4 segments, quadrants, whatever you want to call them. And the brilliance is in the measurement. You get 365.25 is the measurement. It's a constant. So it brings up a solar circle around. So you see 2 hieroglyphs laying on one on top of the other, which means land, place, city. Okay, so you have 2 hieroglyphs. Again, let me go back here and share. Space, constellations, the cosmos, land, place, city. So the measurement, again, just so you guys can see, 365.25 Egyptian cubits. So they were obviously talking about the solar cycle because all 4 sides of this measure that. The circumference of this is this, but move the decimal point over 1. So they're obviously talking about a solar cycle, a star, a sun, right? So when you put these 2 together, you see that the Egyptians were telling us something. They were telling us there's a place in the stars that's important to all of us. And when you add in the solar measurement, it gets a lot deeper. So they're saying a land, a place, or a city in the stars that was so important to them that they spent all this time and effort making this symbolism on top of this machine, right? As I said, it was multifaceted. It could create monatomic gold through the hydrogen process, making a single atom of gold that floated, which lines up in the double helix braid of your DNA, which makes it superconductive, which means your energy goes up and down freely, which also, there's a lot of deepness there. Starfire gold, they call it. White, but it was a powder gold that you could eat. It was not a cheat in a way almost, but it was instead of going through, you know, meditation, spiritual practices, healthy living, and things like that to reach a higher level of consciousness and awareness, they were using a machine that created this. So the whole land, everything, everybody in it could reach this higher level of consciousness when the machine was running, and it still works, but not to its full potential. It was a multifaceted machine, as I said, created all different types of energy, and you know, about everything you could imagine in the EM spectrum. So again, a land, a place, a city in the space constellation of the cosmos. That was so important to them, but it also had the solar measurement there, and it aligned with Orion, so the stars. So they spent all this effort trying to tell us of a land, place, or city in the constellations, the space, cosmos. It's so important to them that one day we would know where to look, how to find it, right? So another key to this clue rests with inside the pyramid. We have the king's chamber and the queen's chamber. In the king's chamber, wall to wall, it measured 365.25 inches. However, in the queen's chamber, it's not wall to wall, it's the measurement ascending, right? So let me see if I can find a picture here of the queen's chamber and how it ascends upwards. All right, here's a good one. Put that up. How it ascends right here is 364 inches. So the king's chamber represents the sun, and the queen's chamber represents its bride, okay, the moon. Go back to a nice sliced view here. That's fun. There's a good one. So the king's chamber represents the sun, and its bride is the moon. In ancient Egyptian times, the lunar calendar was 364 days. So in Egyptian times, the number 364 was a very holy number, giving us a clue that we were looking for something very holy. So it's telling us we're looking for something, a land, a place, a holy land or place, city in the stars, which doesn't follow years, but degrees, 364-degree path. And ironically, this thing was easy to find. In ancient Sumer, Babylon, Egypt, astrology and knowledge of the stars was taken as sacred information. So it was well known, though, and their charts and everything they're very knowledgeable about it. So it wasn't very hard to find the star. The star was called Enlil, and we're going to get into that here in one moment. I'm going to go ahead and pull up some star charts. Maybe I'll just pull up Stellarium, something like that. They marked this star and tracked it, and they found it followed a 364-degree path. And anybody that's watched my channel or followed the work of the ancient Sumerians know that Enlil was a god. So let me pull up Stellarium here. This star right here was called Enlil to the ancient Egyptians. This one was Anu, and this one was Enki. We notice that it's in the Triangulum constellation. It's a triangle. It's a pyramid. Okay. So when you understand the whole lore behind Enlil, Enki, and Anu in the triangle pyramid, you start to see more clues. You start to understand that this, let me see if I can pull up Egyptian star lore and see if it comes up. But you start to get the deeper meaning here. And it kind of speaks for itself, if you will. I don't know if it'll pull it up the way we want it to, but we can try. Yeah, it just doesn't pull it up the way we want it to. So what we'll do is just go back to the Western star view. So you start to understand what the pyramids mean. There's some deeper meaning to it. It was a monument built to the gods, right? Talking about a sacred place in the heavens, a city, a land, a place in the heavens. So Enlil, these gods aren't so foreign if you really start to translate them. So Enlil became El, which became Elohim, right? Anu became God, the Almighty. And Enki became Ea, which became Yah, which became Yahweh. Okay? And there's another part has to do with Muslim culture, and I can't really recall right off the top of my head, but we could get into that later if you guys really, you got the question, just pop it up in there if you really want to know. But let's get back to the story at hand. All right, I did some digging there. One of the stars is now called Motala, where one actually was supposedly meant Allah, okay? So there you go. There's the Muslim tie-in. So these gods are the eternal gods of Earth, and through all cultures, they said they came down and taught man how to build, create, write, live, and just all around be good people, right? Where all our knowledge came from. They also taught us about the stars in the sky and where we came from, which they said was the stars. So in these ancient star charts, we find the gods of Earth and where they came from, and all three stars just happen to be located beside. Let me show you here. Dun dun dun. I have the tree of life. I always have this godlike being, and these people tending to this tree, and then these angelic people behind them. Through all these different cultures, I had this tree of life, and the angels, people working on this tree of life, right? And there's always this heavenly craft, right? This perfect one. But let me show you here. All of them were located beside. Because it's so small, we can't see it. See if I can pause the movement here. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. The Andromeda Galaxy, okay? So all three gods, Elohim, Yahweh, and the Creator, and Enlil, Enki, and Anu, all are aligned in a constellation, which the Egyptians would call what? What would they call it? A pyramid, right? So the plot thickens. So a lot of scholars and people would realize that these ancient Egyptians built them for pharaohs. They'd say they built them for pharaohs, this, that, and the other. But we realize there's a deeper meaning behind it, right? They did it to honor the gods. Our creators, where we came from, where life and the first humans were created, where life, our source, where, like I said, the first humans were created. So people thought that they build this and that the gods would see what men had done and how they honor them and how we, more importantly, remember what they taught us. And when you take everything into account, I mean, if you can see a hole in my logic, that's fine, but I've sat here and checked and double checked all this, and when the plot, it gets deeper. I mean, there's deep symbolism here. So I hope you guys are staying in tune. So adjacent to this is something that below the houses of the gods, we understand there's a lot more deeper meaning, and we're going to get right to it here in 1 second. But it's right beside the Andromeda Galaxy, right? But we all can see, which I'll get to in just one moment. I like to zoom out so you guys can see how crazy this is, but we'll look into it. There's just deeper meaning here, and let me figure, trying to tie in this tree of life stuff here. So let me stop that and share another screen. So the beginning of this understanding is found in the first civilization on Earth, which is Samaria, dating back about 5,000 years in our records anyways, is when we started really finding the clues anyways. We start to see the brilliance of the ancient man, you know. The Sumerian reliefs were pictograms on clay tablets, but they always show angelic beings giving honor to a very strange and underdeveloped tree, okay? In ancient Babylon, we find pictograms of angelic beings attending to a tree, and a very unusual design. The trees don't look like a tree because it's not really a tree. But we also find the god Osiris and the goddess Isis giving and receiving blessings while standing in a very peculiar-looking tree. All these ancient hieroglyphs. The pictograms that were created by these ancients were pictures of life as they knew it. These pictograms were not always made to be art. They served as a written record of what they saw in their day-to-day life and what was going on at Earth at the time. But to really, truly appreciate these pictograms and hieroglyphs, you have to see what's actually being seen in these reliefs and things like that. They tell the same story. It has a god symbol above an eccentric-looking tree, right? And always has angels around it. And the pictures of the trees in Samaria and Egypt and Babylon all look very unusual, but their branches seem to have a strange-looking bulb of light with flowers right all around them. The reason like the trees look so weird is because they're not really a tree. I'll pull up some pictures here in a moment. Like, to really grasp and understand this like precious knowledge, you have to just look for the angels and the God symbol, and it's always above the tree. These pictograms give us a clue as to why the tree is found all over the ancient world, right? And why the Egyptians used the tree to create the Great Pyramid. So the tree is always depicted beneath God, and we know where the house of God is. And if we find the triangular constellation and all the three gods, you'll find that right beneath the gods of creation is a constellation of stars called, dun dun dun, the Gilgamesh, or the Tree of Life. Okay? The Great Pyramid was built to honor the gods, but buried within its construction is like one of the greatest secrets. So the secret is the fact that the pyramid was created for the gods, and the Tree of Life, okay? The reason the pictograms show gods and the angels attending to this tree is because it's where all life comes from, essentially. It's where the birthplace of mankind. Like, it's where the Creator created his first man, okay? This knowledge has been lost over the years and basically just starting to resurface. And the Great Pyramid, which reveals its like true glory, essentially, is the Great Pyramid of Egypt. And it's loaded with markers and clues for our generation, to find. It was made of a triangle to honor the constellation of God, right? Our God, like the creators, not the infinite all. But why so many stones were involved is like a huge clue, right? Each stone weighs about 2.5 tons. And the completed pyramid, if you count all the ones that were missing, unlike Google Maps tells you, is about 2.5 million stones. So let me go ahead and share some screens with you. Okay, so we got the gods above the tree of life, the house of God above the tree of life, and these angels, they're tending to it. All these different cultures had it. Even the Vikings and things like that, right? So the symbolism's there. We got to remember, man never created art without a reason. It always told a story, deeper meaning, had deeper purpose. Let me get back to one of the Sumerian ones. There's the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life. Right here. Perfect example. And as you notice, there's these little light bulb looking flowers all around it. And the God's always above it. And the angels are sitting there tending to man, creating man, right? As they tend to this tree of life. So the stones were about 2.5 tons. There was about 2.5 million stones. There's a recurring number. They're trying to show you something. So they have 2.5 million tons, 2.5 million stones. And at the base of the pyramid, there's the recurring solar year. Okay. So part of the clue, they're telling us there's a land or place in the cosmos that is, can you guess it? It's saying, so basically each stone is a solar year. So 2.5 million solar years. We wouldn't call them solar years, we call them light years, right? It's layered with this. So they're saying that there's a place in the heavens, a holy place in the heavens, that's 2.5 million light years away. Okay, so just take that all into consideration. It gives us the constellation, it gives us everything. So saying in the ancient Egyptian times that it would take 2.5 sun years, solar years, right, or light years to reach this place. So let's see if I can pull up. Give me a minute. I'll see if I can pull up the Tree of Life on Stellarium for you. So what we do, make it nice and simple to go through the star lore and have you have some understanding. You can type in Gilgamesh, which is the Tree of Life, which in Western astrology, or modern constellation arts, is Perseus. So what you do, you go to stand here. And y'all, let me do a screen share. Just share my desktop, share screens. Okay, what's that? And you have Gilgamesh, the Tree of Life, Gilgamesh, Perseus. Okay, so we go to Stellarium, type in triangle. And this is easy, you don't really have to do this, but below the pyramid, right, below the triangle, type in Perseus. Blam. What's the constellation right below it? It's Perseus. There's the Tree of Life. Okay. In ancient astrology, this was known as the Tree of Life. There's the Andromeda Galaxy, the pyramid. Everything's working out, right? You see it all nice and neat, all within one page, one view, which is a very, 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 very packed view, right? You see this. Okay. So if we go to Solarium here and we click on the Andromeda Galaxy, we can see that the distance is 0.778 megaparsecs. Okay. I know that's probably Chinese to you or a foreign language. So what we'll do, let's go to Safari and we type in 0.778 megaparsecs to a light year, convert it, we get 2.5 million light years. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. Okay. So just to show you it's not bullshit. It's just trying to show you some scientific here. It's a megaparsec. Gonna go back and see what it is, or get the idea of how far it is. I'll tell you. Go ahead and use the link for the universe today. Type in megaparsec and it tells you how far it is and about what's going on. It's basically a way to measure distances, solar distances. Comes in super handy, so you don't get a number this long, you get a number that's literally a decimal point. So to fact check this stuff with the whole idea of the tree of life and everything that I was talking about, all you have to do is go to this, share screen. There's 29 flowers, but they're not flowers, they're stars. They're bulbs of light. Gods are above them, right? The home of God, the house of God is above them, and they're always honoring this. So the next thing we do is we realize there's 29. Then we go ahead and type in tree of life constellation. And we realize there's 29 stars in the tree of life. So it's telling us that where we were born, where the first man and woman were created, where humanity descended from, this tree of life, is in the stars. And the pyramids have been telling us since day one, since they've been planted here. There's so many layers to this code, okay? And the knowledge of our original ancestry from these, perfect humans that traveled and created all this stuff that's beyond our concept and things like that. And obviously we've been genetically manipulated over time, but the first man was created here, okay? And let me go ahead and one more time, just share the desktop, share the screen, minimize that. There's Solarium. There's the Andromeda Galaxy, right? Triangulum, Tree of Life. I hope this clears up a lot of the misconceptions, and I hope you guys enjoyed understanding this aspect of the code. Yeah, to me, it maybe you can't tell, I've done a lot of work and research to make this all tie together, not just connecting dots. There's too many coincidences, which, like I said, straightforward, the hieroglyphics speak for themselves. So what we'll do is stop the share. Give you a good look at some of my hieroglyphs. Some of my nerd collection here. But yeah, it's mind blowing, but it's all there. And I hope you guys share this, get it out there, share the information. And this is just one aspect of the many codes of the pyramid. To understand that level of intellect, engineering, and mathematics is just it's beyond human comprehension when you think of what they really tell us. I mean, 20 years, I mean, okay, if we were superhumans, we were levitating the stones, we had acoustic levitation, we had complex mathematics that are beyond what we have now. If we had free men and women that knew how to use these technologies, knew how to harvest the stones, use lasers, diamond edge tools, cutting tools, everything that is way beyond the metallurgy and understanding of what we say we have, then 20 years, yeah, that's like a block every 8 minutes. So you do the math. It's 8-sided. The rooms are inside are within a 50th of an inch, something that we still can't do today. I mean, accurate, straight up and down, flat, level everywhere. Within a 50th of an inch, you can't take the thinnest razor blade and fit in between the cracks. This is engineering beyond our concept. And once you realize that the powers that be understand our human potential, and the first thing they do is try to make us feel like, oh, we're stupid, we're worthless, we're below and beneath them, then we don't access that higher knowledge. We don't access our full potential. And then they get to steer the collective consciousness, all right? Just as I was saying in my last video, how we had single-celled organisms at the beginning of the evolutionary chart that could move left, right, up, down, find proteins, run from danger. And then they started to colonize, and they used their group awareness, their mass awareness, their consciousness as a whole to tap into this unified consciousness, if you will, that they had to better understand and assess their threats and food and everything like that. And then from there, they had these multi-organisms just went from one small scale to a huge scale. And when you understand that all time exists all the time, past, future, and present. It's not linear as we perceive it. The way we perceive time is actually flawed because of our human capabilities. But for time to be a thing, it has to exist at all times. It's like having a movie, a DVD. All the slides exist at one time. It's just where your base perception is. But why do we have to read it left to right? So and then you come into things that, since all time has to exist all the time, that goes with quantum mechanics and the theory of relativity. Then you realize that it's just perception and awareness, consciousness. So that's what makes reality real. And when you understand that on a long enough scale timeline, that anything that can happen will happen, that means anything that could happen already did happen. Then you start to realize that we're part of this mass unified consciousness, and tapping into this consciousness is very key. It's a very big part of our life and our purpose here. We're coming from source to go back to source. The real idea of the simulation is the simulation of coming from God back to God, existing. The separation of consciousness is our suffering, you know. We feel this way, or we have this feeling. We feel like we can't share it with others. We feel like we have to express it. But in reality, they can all tap into this unified consciousnness. It is a part of us all, and we can all tap into it. And we all need to help better ourselves and help each other. So it's like buying a pizza for your friends. You feel like, oh, I'm buying a pizza and I'm splitting it this many ways. But if we all would buy the pizza and share, then we'd all get a whole pizza. But the idea of giving, sharing, nobody would ever go without. We all need to be kind, help each other understand, help each other share, and evolve our consciousness. man was given dominion over nature. There's so many things that are so right in all these religions, but they're taken so serious. You're taking a good idea and building a belief system on it. It was a way to explain things to people that couldn't comprehend things as easily as some others. So you always have to add a story or context richness to it. So once they understand that we're all a part of this unified consciousness, we all came from the same place. We all came from oneness. Even the idea of the Big Bang, right? A lot of people don't comprehend that it means that all energy, all matter, all things, all the forces, the weak, these magnetic forces, all these strong and weak nuclear forces and reactions, gravity, light, thought, all these things were one. Came out to expanded into this. It's because of the timeline thing. It's the idea of taking a block and take it in at a Planck length into a slide. And once you have these slides, every slide is slightly different from the next. And that's what makes time, right? But that means all time has to exist all the time. So when you think about things like tachyon energy that travel backwards through what we perceive as time, and then saying it was just a device malfunction, then it's ignorance to me, because in reality, if you're having particles travel backwards, information from the future travel backwards through what we perceive as time, then it's going to block it's going to be like a static that blocks our precognitive abilities, right? Now everybody gets those gut feelings, those, I should have did this or I should have did that. Well, then do it. Listen to your heart. Before all else, something I've failed to do numerous times and I'm still working on, but you have to listen to your heart. And sometimes your heart says, smash this guy in the forehead, beat this guy up or whatever. But sometimes you just got to listen to your heart. I know it sounds terrible, but it's the idea of karma. And sometimes you have to just be the hand of karma. And, every action has an equal but opposite reaction. Somebody does you wrong or does something wrong. It's like nature's natural selection. There has to be that balance, It's like the pack exiling a creature that's in the pack because it did something that was wrong. It wasn't part of the greater good. So you have to do that. If you don't teach it, then it's all chaos. There's people that see the universe and they see chaos and just this utopia. But for those that have the sight, they can see that this cosmic web has threads and there's interconnectedness between us all. And we see harmony. We see a beautiful spider web. We see harmony. There is no real chaos, right? The chaos theory is that even with chaos, there's harmony. A pattern emerges. And mathematics is the language of nature, so always be looking for those recurring numbers. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And if you have anything to add, talk about, please share, like, subscribe, get it out there. I don't care if it's Facebook, wherever, just share it and let's discuss. Let's do it. Okay. So I love you guys. And I hope you enjoyed.